Greetings fellow Modonauts, my name is Sergio Madeira and I'll be your presenter for this session. Today's topic will be on product design with Modo and Meshfusion. I love Meshfusion flexibility. It allows me the flexibility of subdivision modeling with the Boolean operations and those smooth fillets of cut packages. It allows quick concept modeling without having to worry about any topology issues. Depending on your case, you can use Meshfusion from beginning to end of your project, or you can also use Meshfusion as a quick way to create some geometry that you then retopo later with Modo. I found this online product design that I think it will be a really nice fit to design this with Meshfusion. As far as I know, this product was designed by this art studio, and although I couldn't find it in the website, but I found some information online that pointed here. So let's just jump into it. And as you see, this has a lot of fillets and holes that will be really tricky to model if you use normal subdivision modeling. So by blending with Meshfusion, I can design this a lot quicker and still have a procedural model that I can change on the fly. Alright, so let's start by the final render from the Modo scene. This is the end result, and here you have the 3D model with the preview render working. And what we will do in this first part of this webinar is do the modeling for this power pig using Modo Meshfusion tools. Okay, so let's jump into it. Alright, so starting from an empty scene, you have here your mesh that I'll just rename to, I'll call it power pig underscore base. And I will use procedural modeling for this, at least for the base. It's faster and it's more flexible. So I'll just come here to add operator and add a sphere. It comes in with 1 meter. I don't want it that big, and I want it quads, and with 2 here, and 100 millimeters all over, right? And now if I change to the right view, I'll want to make it a little bit bigger on the Z, but this is okay, so I'm happy with this shape. So the next procedural operation that I'll need is to make the bottom of my power pig a little bit flatter. I don't want it just a perfect oval. So just load the transform, come here and apply a fall off. So fall off, it comes in also too big, so just change it about to 120 millimeters and need to rotate it. So just E for rotation, rotate it 90 degrees, W to move and move it down. And you think, yeah, I will increase it slightly just to, yes, now it's all right. And next step is coming here to the transform effector, and I will reduce the scale on the y-axis. So just something seems about right to me. Yes, okay. So if you want to see the final result in subdivision modeling, you just need to load also procedural operation. So set polygon type and change from face to Catmull Clark. And that's it. We have our base mesh modeled. Press N for new mesh, rename it. Let's call this one legs. And let's come here with a cylinder tool, bottom view, press Ctrl and drag to the size you want. Perspective, pull down, make it bigger to enter the volume a little bit more. And here you should also always try to aim for quads. Meshfusion prefers quads, although it also can handle with the triangles and n-gons, but preferably on the, especially on the areas of intersection, you should have quads. Right, so this one is alright. So I can isolate this one. select the top polygons and R to scale. Just make it a little bit bigger. All right. Now with edge, add Alt-C for edge loop. And with this one, it's okay. Just press R, make it smaller, and press B for bevel, and just a little bit bigger. And okay, I'm happy with this one. Right. So I'm done. If you now press Tab, you get the subdivision mode, and it's a little bit too round on the bottom. I want something sharper, so B for bevel, and let's add some support here. Okay, so much sharper. Let's take this off to see everything, and let me just continue to add some more operations. So I'll just pull it a little bit in because I'll add a quite big radius all around. And now I'll add a mirror and a second one to mirror in the next axis. So mirror, and this one I have to change to Z axis. And that's it. So we already have the legs modeled. Now for this next part, let's look at the image. So this is kind of a round shape, and I just have the perfect geometry already. So in cubics with Meshfusion, it comes with a lot of presets, and I'm just going to load this barrel and pressing R to scale. Let's put it in the correct size. It's a little too big. Just move it a little bit up and continue scaling a little bit more and up, and just a little bit more. It's still too big. Something like this seems alright. So now I can come here to the vertex, select these two, and B for bevel, convert to edges, and radial align, convert again to polygons, B for bevel, pull down, convert again to edges, B for bevel. I didn't need to convert this one. I could bevel with polygons, but it's okay. Edges, B for bevel, and that's it. So subdivide, and it's alright. It's a little bit too sharp for my taste, so I wanted to have a little bit more smoother radius. So I'll just add another loop here, and so I need to pull these edges a little bit back to have a more smoother radius. So double click, R to scale, scale a little bit out. Same on this one. And now on the vertical ones, just W to move, and move this one also, and that's it. Subdivide with Tab, and alright, so I'm happy with this one. So now with what will be our plug, this mesh called QBarrel, I will show you firstly a manual way to position it, and then we'll use like a more automatic way to do the same operation. So to manually place one by one, you can just come to the center. So if you click the mesh and you can click on the center, I have placed my center here. It could be that your center is still in the origin. If that is the case, just select it and with W move it to the approximate position of intersecting the main volume of the pig. Because when we instance, which is the automatic way, it will instance from the center of the mesh. So if you have your center really like 1 kilometer away, it will give you really strange results. So properly place the center is really important. So the next step is just right click and do a manual instance. So instance, and with this instance you can just drag and drop on the face you want to position it. And with this menu you choose place and align. And that's it. So it's already automatically aligned, but you can still move it and rotate it. Just make sure to press Alt S to change to the selection mode, and it will automatically align to the selection, and you can manually nudge it into position. So this is the kind of manual way. I'll delete this one. I'll show you another way that I prefer, which is a lot faster. So just delete this one, make the PowerPig base active, and here on Mesh Paint instance, click on it, and under tool properties, click, and you get these properties. Make sure that you have the same settings: drop, no scale, surface alignment plus random, and the rest leave as I do. And lastly, which item you want to instance, you change not from the camera, you choose your key barrel. Done. So next step, you just need to click on symmetry. I want to do both sides at the same time, and snapping, because I want to place it specifically, for example, on this point. So click, done. Then just continue, you can continue, click here, maybe one there, here, one here, and one there, one here. And now for the ones in the middle, you have to take symmetry off, click, and in the front, click. Right. So these are done. But because they are all instances, if you select the one that they are instancing from and decide to move it, for example, everything changes. So one thing that I normally do sometimes, like scale, is really important, because it could be that, for example, here in the middle, you don't have enough space for the fillet. So if you make it a little bit smaller, then you get a little bit more margin, and everything will have more space for the fillets. You can still individually press W to move, Alt S to align it to the selection, or rotate it. But once this is done, the next step is to transform the PowerPig base into a Fusion asset. So select it, come here to New Fusion, and you can work with strip width as percentage, or click on the absolute. I prefer to click on absolute and work with millimeters. So I'll insert 10 by default, so to always add a 10 millimeter radius on every Fusion operation. So with this done, I have a new mesh, the Fusion mesh, and I can select this one and the PowerPig base and just do a Boolean additive operation. See, you have a 10 millimeter radius, and just repeat the same thing. So you can go one by one, or just open the lasso and add them all together at the same time. It doesn't really matter the fall off is selected, it will not use it. So you can just select everything and do an additive operation. And that's done, right? Everything is working, all the fillets are done. So at this stage, I think it's a good thing to start to organize your scene. So I normally just start with the concept I want, and then after a certain point, I think it's getting complicated, so it's better to organize. So select everything except the lights, just the meshes, and Control G to group. Let's move this one into the group, and now put the group on the top. I normally do it like this. So within the group, I also like to organize a little. I put the Fusion mesh on the top, and the transforms, I just group them again, put it on the bottom, and rename it to effectors. With this done, I think, okay, PowerPig base just below the Fusion, and the rest is okay. One extra step that I will teach you, it's not mandatory, just I like to do it. You see these triangles? I don't like it. It's just a representation of Meshfusion. They will not be visible in the final mesh, but it's just visually I don't like it. So workaround for this is N for new mesh. You just click N. With a new mesh, you just rename it. Let's call it Fusion _ mesh up, and let's do a merge mesh. And with this merge mesh, you just go in and source, just point it to the fusion. So fusion power peg. So now if you hide the fusion mesh, you see that you are seeing just the triangles where they need to be. So it's a lot cleaner. So now I only need to apply a procedural material, and then we have all our design procedural. So if you do a design change, everything will update. So for that, I will use this fusion mesh up and apply a material also procedurally. So select it, come here to add operator, and just write matte, and we'll get a material tag. Click it, properties, and change the default name to power peg. And then just jump to the shading, and you need to add a group. By default, when you apply, at least currently, you apply a material tag, Modo does not create the group for you and point it to the correct material tag. You have to do it yourself. So add a group, and here you'll have under material tag, let's just rename this one to power pig. And if you come down to the polygon tag, you'll have your power pig polygon tag. So now you just apply a material inside, change the color, and it will update on the OpenGL. See? I thought it would be less tedious to just go through how I set up the materials and lights and the final render using the final scene and just decompose it. So if I start here and deactivate all the materials and leave only the base material, one thing I wanted to show here is that the light is working really nice. So as you can see, it's really well balanced and it works very well. So how was this light made? So this is made of 3 emissive planes, and they are here. So if you come here to lights and, for example, the left, select the material turns, you see luminous intensity, so you control it here. You could also click here on the handles, but the blue one allows you to change the color of the light. The yellow one should allow you to change the intensity. Something must be failing. This is quite an old preset that ships with Modo, so it doesn't seem to be working here. I would have to look, but you can still control it just fine. So here, if you change the intensity from 7 to 0 on the left, you'll see that there is no light coming from the left now. So again, set 7. And these are, okay, I have click here, show weight maps. And if you select the correct poly vertex map, you see this edge fade. So it's there. And it's also applied here as a vertex map. So you can control a little bit the bias and gain, and here you control the intensity of the light. So those are the 3 lights. If you take them off, it will get the complete black scene because there is no other source for the light. So I'm using no environment lights. Alright, so starting with maybe from the bottom, let's go to the metal matte. If you select the polygons, you'll see that those are the metallic parts of the plug. So those are only visible here on this specific angle. So I just made the specular material with kind of orange color. So you'll see it will show up there. I'll have to activate it. So it's there. Second one is the material for this USB, and it's nothing special. Also, it's just a diffuse color with a yellow color. Has a Fresnel of 100%, and it's relatively rough. And I have also image to apply on the cable. So you see it there. Aluminium, so like polygons, those are the metallic aluminium parts of the USB. So again, is pretty simple material. Specular 100%, white color, roughness 30%. And you have presets for all these. I just personally prefer to create it myself, it's just faster. And for example, let's go with the plug number 1, which is this green one, and I'll go to the free camera and I'll zoom in to this plug to show you. Right, so if you go in, I'll just deactivate this noise and I'll create it again. So I added a texture, procedural texture. So if you come to add layer, textures, noise, and I know that it comes in really big, so 33 millimeters is too big. So just double click 1 millimeter. Okay, it's getting there. I'm seeing some noise. Next, I will change the type of noise from fractal to turbulence. And I want to see less transition from white to black. It's too noisy like this. So I will increase the gain to about 85%. And you'll see maybe still 85 is too much, maybe 95. You will basically see everything white except some little dots here and there, very, very subtle. So after this, if you just right click, surface shading, change it to bump, you'll see that the effect is really subtle. I don't know if you can see on the video, but here on this part of the plug there are some imperfections, and in other details I see some imperfections here and there. So if you want to just reduce, you can also maybe change the opacity to 50% or increase it here on the bias a little bit so you see less black areas. And I'm happy with this one. So what I did here was basically the same. So just delete this one and I'll activate all the other plug materials and go back to the front camera. So I duplicated the material to plug number 1C and 1B and just change the diffuse color. So it's exactly the same material. Now, going back to our ceramic material on the pig, if I deactivate all this and show the base material, so this is a pink ceramic with a Fresnel of 100%, roughness really low, so I would see some shining, some light reflecting on the material of the pig. And then I applied the gradient, set as incidence, and I made a color transition from kind of pink to lighter pink on the borders. Then I added again another gradient just to have a little bit of color variation. So I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So also overlay, and if you activate it, you'll see that the colors will vary a little bit more. So like here on the bottom, you'll see that the pink gets redder, and here also around this plug area and in other areas, you'll get a slightly more reddish color. Then for the eyes, this is just an image that I went online. I found some eyes in transparent PNG and I created a Photoshop file with these, and they are set as planar mapping. So if you come here, planar, see projection type planar. Let me just change here the camera to free camera. Wanted to show you something. So zoom out, rotate. Okay, what would be expected in previous versions of Modo, so in case you are not familiar with this new feature, it allows you to choose, even though that you are projecting planar, you don't want to see it on the back faces, for example. So you see, this is what happened previously. And now you have the possibility to, for example, to call back facing, so you won't see any textures on the back part. So it's really simple and super fast to apply. Just do a planar projection and that's it. Finally, if I zoom in to some area of closer to the eyes, for example, I want to show you some scratches. So I wanted just to have a little bit of imperfection on the ceramic, and for that purpose I use the simple image with some scratches. But if I apply the image, again, I'm just using a solid projection or cubic, and it's too intense, so it's too distracting. I thought the main purpose is to show the product design and not the scratches, so I wanted something really subtle. So what I did was I added the scratches, but I added a texture, again, noise. And in this noise, I increased the gain to about 85%. So you see quite clear transition from the white to the black. And zooming out again, you see there are too many white colors. So you will see, if I increase here to 65%, so you see the white colors get only a few spots here and there. So now if I drag this layer to the scratches, it will set himself up automatically as a layer mask. And this is exactly what I did. So if I delete this one, inside the scratches you'll see there is a noise set automatically as layer mask, and the gain is 90%, the bias is 65%. And if you want to visualize it, you should select it, come here, current layer overlay, and let me jump again. And okay, I have to activate it, I think. So you see these red areas, those are the points where you'll see the scratches showing. So if you want less scratches, you just have to increase here the bias to 70%, for example, or let's make it now. So you'll see that the red areas will reduce. So it means less scratches. Okay, I'll just leave it at 65 again. And finally, I reduced the opacity of the scratches to only 25%. So it's something really subtle. You won't see it most of the time, and you could still bring it down if you think they are too distracting on the final render. Now going to ground. So the ground is a white color, simple, nothing special there also. What I did was I added a clear coat gradient here as input parameter distance to locator. So I have a locator here on the 0, 0, 0, and with this I'm creating a clear coat amount that if I show you here the effects, sorry, here. So you see the clear coat is only acting here and it's decaying from the center where it's 100% intense, and going out it's fading to 0. Above that, I added a little bit of noise, really subtle, and I have the noise also here on the bump amplitude, 175 UM. It's up to you, you can bring it down if you think it's too pronounced. No other tricks on this scene. I think this is all. I'm not using any environment light, and the part that I like really a lot, that I really love, is that by using Meshfusion, if I now decide to change something in the design, for example, don't forget this is the merge mesh. If you want to change it, you should change it here, for example. This is the, wait, let me have it this. Yes, okay, this is the main volume. So if you remember, you have here this transform. If you want to deactivate it, for example, see how the peg will change, make it a lot fatter. Let's go to the render. And we have a fat pig. And nothing broke, so everything is still working just fine. All the radius updated. So if we change here to camera 3/4 left, quite nice this pig also. I think it's more, maybe more funny. So I think this is it. I will provide the scene to everyone. I hope you learned something new. And if you have some suggestions on products that you would like to see designed using Modo and especially Meshfusion also, please send them over. I would love to see those, and maybe we can cover those in future webinars. Take care. Bye bye.